I think this is not only obviously the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career, but in a career that's filled with almost nothing but huge fights, this is the biggest fight of Canelo Alvarez's career.
Stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at one.
You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
As the highly anticipated clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford draws near, Max Kellerman has shared his closing thoughts on the fight, part of Netflix's top-tier broadcast team for this massive boxing event. Kellerman brings his trademark sharp insight and deep historical context to what is shaping up as one of the most important contests in the sport's history.
A great chin. But in terms of if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford.
Okay.
But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton than Crawford. No matter what they weigh, Canelo's the bigger guy.
Kellerman isn't mincing words, calling the Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford bout the most watched title fight in nearly half a century. He likens it to Muhammad Ali's famous rematch with Leon Spinks in 1978, which drew an astonishing 90 million viewers. With Netflix streaming the event, Kellerman says this isn't just another super fight, it's a shift in boxing's scale and business model, promising numbers far beyond traditional pay-per-view.
But like, where would you rank this fight out of your top 3 to 5 of all the boxing fights you've called, you've experienced, you've watched?
In terms of the magnitude
of
the
the magnitude,
fight?
yeah.
I mean, of the fights that I've called ringside, it might turn out to be number 1. I've done Pacquiao fights, I've done Mayweather fights, I've done Anthony Joshua against Klitschko. Those are big fights, but listen, because of Netflix, this will be the most watched fight, championship fight, in almost 50 years. This is going to be because Muhammad Ali fought Leon Spinks in the rematch in 78, and they did 90 million TV sets. 90 million. And since then, what has even come close? The biggest fights have all been on pay-per-view, and they do 2 million buys. Oh my God, 4 million buys, Mayweather Pacquiao. As I keep saying, if 5 people per TV set watch, that's 20 million people. This is gonna do multiples of that. So when you look at it from like a commercial point of view, it'll easily be the biggest boxing event.
At a recent press event, promoter Dana White confirmed that Kellerman will step back into the commentary booth for the long-awaited Canelo versus Crawford showdown on September 13th, 2025. The veteran analyst, celebrated for his work on ESPN and HBO, will team up with John Anik and Hall of Famer Andre Ward to call the action live from Allegiant Stadium. Kellerman described the bout as a perfect storm, noting that both Canelo and Crawford rank among the finest pound-for-pound fighters of this generation. He added that Crawford now earns his vote as the best P4P, while Canelo held that status until recently. Kellerman underlined how rare it is for 2 athletes of such stature to meet, observing that historically only about 25 to 30 boxers have ever been considered the true pound-for-pound king, and both men belong in that exclusive circle.
I want to bring up the first member of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman.
All right, so I know you guys are excited about this fight, but I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm, First of all, Turki Al-Sheikh, we're lucky he happens to be a boxing fan. None of this happens if he doesn't happen to be a boxing fan. It's just none of us are here. Nick Khan, the best in the business. Dana White. Dana White is the greatest combat sports promoter of my lifetime. And it's his first ever boxing promotion. So that's who's behind what you're going to see. You know who's the best pound for pound fighter in the world? The most recent one. Bud Crawford. Apologies to the monster and Usyk. Bud Crawford has my vote for best pound for pound. Who was the best pound for pound before Bud? Canelo Alvarez, universally recognized that way. But it's not just these two guys, the last two best pound for pound fighters in the world. There haven't been that many. Before Canelo, who do you have? Before Canelo, Floyd or Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather. Before, you could take the lineage back. There've only been, 25 or 30 fighters who ever lived who you said that's the best pound for pound fighter in the world. These are two of them, the last two. And they're gonna fight in Las Vegas on September 13th. Canelo is 62-2 with 2 draws, 62-2-2. So was Marvin Hagler when Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to fight him and they produced one of the biggest spectacles in the history of boxing. This fight is a perfect storm. I could not be more excited.
Bradley Jr. predicts the opening round of Canelo versus Crawford won't be a wild slugfest, but a careful chess match. He expects both boxers to stay composed, taking their time to gauge distance, rhythm, and timing. Bradley points out that Crawford often starts slowly in big fights, patiently setting traps, while Canelo uses early rounds to read opponents and adjust. Bradley advises viewers to expect a cautious first frame, where each man gathers information before increasing the pace later.
Feel his punching power as well. In the beginning, it's all the position balance. Like both guys are trying to get balance and trying to find their rhythm, understanding their distance to where they can punch and at the same time avoid getting hit. It takes Crawford a little bit more time than I would say Canelo to get right to it. Canelo, although he is a prolific counterpuncher, fantastic counterpuncher, he tends to find his spots a lot quicker. And the indication of that is when, if you look at any of the boxers that Canelo has faced, Trout, even Danny Jacobs, even when he fought against Charlo, you just check out the first round. He usually takes off, just feels the power, cruises, see what these guys know, couple of feints, level changes, gathering information, right? Crawford does the same and similar things. So I think the first round's going to be a real calm and cautious round by both fighters. But in the second round, Canelo's going to start applying that pressure, man. Pre-engagement with Crawford is a little bit more difficult than a Charlo, okay? And let me explain this. So pre-engagement is the movements before you get into that sweet spot, which is mid-range, to be able to let your hands go, right? Both guys are trying to counter each other's movement. Both guys are looking at each other's, hands, trying to anticipate what they believe is going to come next. During those periods right there, Crawford is one of the best at it, okay? Because he's smart, he's cerebral. Like a fighter to a fighter, we can feel one another.
WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson remains certain that Bud Crawford will defeat Canelo and might even stop him. Stevenson praises Crawford's elite skills, citing his speed, ring IQ, and tricky southpaw stance as major advantages. He's even warned fans that Crawford will cook Canelo, suggesting a potentially one-sided affair. Stevenson first voiced this belief back in 2021 and has stood firm since, arguing that Crawford's sharpness and ability to adapt make him the logical favorite in this high-stakes encounter.
I think Bud gonna pick Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him.
Yeah. You don't think the weight difference is gonna
be too big of a advantage. I think y'all make that something, you know. In certain fights,
Boxing makes it something, not us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would like apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's like physically kind of big, but like height wise, yeah, he's kind of small. So I don't think so. No, I think that's possible. Like I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if Canelo gets to acting out of line and not understanding that Bud can crack too.
Unanimous decision win over Israel Madramov at 154 pounds did more than earn him another belt. It redefined his legacy by capturing the WBA junior middleweight crown. In his first fight at the weight, he became a 4-division champion, joining boxing's elite few. More impressively, he's the first man in the 4-belt era to unify 2 divisions, super lightweight and welterweight, proving his unmatched versatility. The Madramov victory showed Crawford could carry his timing, ring IQ, and defensive craft into higher divisions, outclassing bigger foes. Madramov's strength and size didn't stop Crawford, who used precision, patience, and adaptability to dominate. This win proved his skills translate across weight classes, cementing him as one of boxing's most dangerous and versatile champions.
August of 2024. He spent from 2018 until August of 2024, right? 6 years at 147. Okay? And he's had 8 fights at 147, all knockouts, and 1 fight at 154, which was a unanimous decision over Israel Madramov. So you can make a case he's actually a welterweight jumping to 168. But he did make a pit stop at 54 and became a champion. So we have to acknowledge that because that goes into his accomplishment bag. That makes him a 4-division champion. So the concern is Terrence Crawford jumping up in weight. This is a weight class that Canelo Alvarez has now been in since 2020. He's been at this weight for 5 years when he made his debut against Caleb Smith. But remind you, he fought against Danny Jacobs at 160 in 2019. Then in November of 2019, he jumped to 75 and fought Sergey Kovalev, then came back down to 68. So it's doable, right? But with that said, everybody's concerned with the weight and how Terrence Crawford puts on the weight. So let's explain it. As you see the new photos that Terrence Crawford has leaked, Terrence Crawford has lean bulked. Okay, as you see here, Terrence Crawford there, right? He has lean bulked. Okay, he put the bulk on in his weight, in his legs, and in his shoulders to be able to take the...
Trainer Dave Caldwell also praises Crawford's distinctive style, focusing on his smooth stance switches and excellent footwork for controlling range. Caldwell believes Crawford's movement is one of his most overlooked weapons, letting him create angles, frustrate rivals, and steer the tempo. Facing a strong pressure fighter like Canelo, these tools could prove decisive. Caldwell explains that if Crawford keeps moving and avoids getting cornered, he has everything needed to outmaneuver Canelo and build a lead on the scorecards.
When the fight got made, I've always fancied Crawford. I just think it's different. I think there's something about him. I think if you add what Crawford's good at, his brain, he can switch, he's very good as a southpaw. His judgment of distance is fantastic. His punch picking is fantastic. He's got good legs. When you add what, and he can pop. I mean, listen, I'm not saying he's got the power to hurt Canelo, but he might have the power to surprise Canelo a little bit and just sting him and just. But when you look at what Crawford does well, and then I look at this version of Canelo, as Canelo's got on, his punch rate's gone down. His feet have never been the fastest, but he's always had good placement of feet. His feet aren't the fastest. And he loads up. And he don't really like boxing at a pace. So I kind of look at that and I think Crawford can manage his way through the fight to win it on points. I think he can manage moments, tough moments. When Canelo detonates a big shot on him, he's going to know about it because Crawford's been hurt before. When Crawford gets hit, he does get hit. That's why he's exciting, but he does get hit. So that means that Canelo could land on him. I just think that Canelo will land a bomb and Crawford knows enough to tie up, to get off at.
The upcoming clash with Terence Crawford isn't just a headline, it's the biggest moment of Canelo Alvarez's career. He notes that while Canelo has already assembled a Hall of Fame resume, conquering several divisions, none of those wins carry the same weight as this meeting. Crawford, an unbeaten strategist, represents the ultimate test of skill and adaptability. Kellerman says the result will either seal Canelo's legacy as untouchable or leave doubts about whether he could overcome boxing's toughest challenge. Interview 9. What's your opinion on this blockbuster? Is it the most important fight of this era? And who do you think comes out on top? Share your predictions below.
Crawford, his composure going to be like the moment a punch lands on him from Canelo.
Are you kidding me? Take that question back.
Yeah, why?
Because you're talking about Crawford.
Yeah.
He's
the weight classes.
He's the most composed guy. Yeah. Wait, you don't think he'll be prepared? You think it'll be a shock to him? No. You think it'll be, oh my God, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. That ain't happening with Crawford. Yeah. He knows exactly what he's getting himself and why. He's the one looking for it. He don't have nobody with a gun behind him saying you got to go do this. He's the one. And look, it's a tremendous challenge because Canelo's a tremendous fighter and bigger and strong, and he can obviously he can punch and he can time you and he can do all the things that have made him so special. There's no doubt about it. But we're forgetting about those things I just talked about with Crawford just because he's smaller. We're forgetting that. He'll come up with a game plan where he won't let the other guy use the sight. Do you remember somebody named Manny Pacquiao when he was making his bones, the first time he hit the big stage? You got all these great fighters here. It was with a guy named Oscar De La Hoya, a hell of a fighter. And everyone said, oh, it'd be too small for him. And then I said, I gotta say, I got one right. I said, how about Manny's gonna be too fast for him? Oh, I'll tell you guys, how about he's gonna be too quick? How about he's gonna be like a couple of those mosquitoes and gnats at a barbecue and disrupt the whole damn barbecue? How about that? Yeah. Well, how about Crawford disrupts the whole damn